Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the host, co-host, guest, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.
Hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining the Revolution. Those who have just joined in the last couple of weeks or days, all are welcome. Doesn't matter who you support, don't support. As long as you love this country, we will find common ground, hopefully, before we lose what's left of it. This election, and sadly, more than the election, this time in our history is a referendum on us, St. Lucia. Do we love ourselves, and do we love our island home? It is Tuesday, the 22nd of June, 2021, or day 16 of the 6th year of the 5-year term of the Chasney administration. Yep, we're living on their borrowed times, but since they have stolen so much from us, I guess it would only be logical for them, as immoral pricks that they might be, to take everything and then just keep taking more and more and more. St. Lucia is under the grip of a disease, a national pandemic. It is called greed. Yep. I do want to send birthday greetings going out to Lyndall Jacob. He celebrates his 30th birthday today. Coming from your entire family over in Cedar Heights, wishing you a wonderful day, knowing that you are loved by all in your community and, of course, your family, your entire home circle. Now, folks, whether you know it or not, whether you like the Labour Party or not, whether you like Kenny Anthony or not, as Minister for Social Transformation, Harold Dalsaw was the one who got the bursaries for the elderly computerized, in the sense that instead of people constantly having to go and line up at the various town halls and city halls and so on, they got everybody's bank account numbers so that they could simply go or have whoever that was taking care of the seniors, family or otherwise, home health care aides, they could go and they could withdraw that money. Now, Kenny Anthony's administration also were the ones that instituted and initialized the bursary for the disabled. And for the number of parents who have to struggle to try to make ends meet while having to also provide health care and have people take care of autistic children or differently abled children, it's never been enough. But the bottom line is, the Kenny Anthony administration started the bursary for the disabled at $200. They raised it to $300. Chasney came in and reduced it back down to $200. He could find money for Ernst & Young, find money to divert roads for Teoa King, $13 million bypass roads, find money to pay the range back $30+ million for a botched CIP project. Find money to add $1 million to the Soufrière Square, only to use the same architect, Ms. Girawo, to do the same thing, just delay it and put in one of Harrods or a couple of Harrods contractors so they could eat more. And all these projects, right now as we speak, first of all, this government in the 2021 budget was supposed to have increased the bursary for the disabled back to $300, where Kenny Anthony's administration left it, and Chasney starved it by bringing it back down to $200 for 4 years. After the payments were not being made on time. Right now I'm making an urgent plea because there are scores of parents and caregivers, older brothers, sisters, some not even related to those children that they have adopted or are taking care of in the community. And they have not gotten bursaries for 3 months. For 3 entire months, they have not gotten bursaries. They cannot send the children to school. It is not like the other children where they can send them to school or they keep them home. These children need specialized care, specialized education. There are no shortcuts. The life of a parent or somebody who takes care of an autistic or differently abled child is a lifelong journey, to say the least. And to give them the quality of life that they need support from a caring society. So what does it say that you will vote for a bad government just because they have your party color or because you have some familial attachment to a name or a party color, no matter what side it is? That's why I keep saying it has to be about right versus wrong. This election cannot be about Philip J. Pierre. It cannot be about Shasney. It has to be about you, your country, your community, your children, your health care, your safety and security, your economy locally and nationally and regionally and internationally as well. No bursary for the disabled for the last 3 months. Fix it, goddammit, fix it. Anyway, where do we start? Well, let's start on some false premises.
Meantime, the local tourism sector is poised for a major bounce back from the impact of COVID-19. Stakeholders are gearing up to welcome the first international cruise ship since the closure of the sector last year amid the global COVID-19 pandemic.
The country is in preparation mode to receive the first international cruise ship since the closure of the sector due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Royal Caribbean Cruise Line's Celebrity Millennium has indicated St. Lucia as a stop on its itinerary in mid-July, along with the islands of Barbados and St. Martin. This decision was made after ample discussion with local authorities. Doreen Georges, Public Relations Manager of the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, SLTA, explains the strict protocols which will guide the arrival of the ship.
Preliminary discussions with Royal Caribbean include a commitment that both passengers and crew over the age of 18 years would all have been vaccinated, full compliance to pre-arrival COVID-19 testing, and that tour operations would be conducted within a green corridor or bubble. Additionally, all persons disembarking would be subject to the standard protocols of wearing of a face mask, physical distancing, and sanitizing.
Georges says the overall aim is to ensure, while the cruise ship sector can continue to benefit the local economy, the local populace is kept safe.
A special committee has been established to provide oversight to the resumption of cruise tourism, which include the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Health, Port Health, St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority, Invest St. Lucia, Customs, Immigration, Port Security, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, St. Lucia Tourism Authority, and cruise agencies Cox & Company Limited and Foster & Ince. We are enthusiastic that with the advent of science and technology amid this pandemic, we can prepare for a silver lining.
Communications with key sector agencies have begun, with the focus remaining health and safety. According to Doreen Georges, the coming weeks will see increased dialogue with suppliers and operators, and the committee will hold regular meetings. The agenda to include the review and approval of protocols for the reopening of the sector, a review of the terminal and its operations, and logistics for excursions within protocol. From the Government Information Service, Humadi Mark reporting.
Now, it might sound counterintuitive, but I personally believe it's better to give people no hope than to give them false hope. But you see, this government has made a real magic show out of PR. Now, the whole point of tourism is supposed to be its linkages, its economic linkages. It can never truly compete with agriculture because agriculture is trickle-up economics. People get money on the ground through agriculture. They spend in the local economies in their communities. They participate in the local economy, and the money filters upward. Always the best way to go. But with tourism, when you keep telling people of all of these things that are coming and you keep bluffing and dangling carrots and everything, even if these things do happen, if it doesn't translate financially, then it's false hope. Now, if you give somebody no hope and you tell them no, they will go and they will adapt, they will find a way forward. But when you give people false hope and they do that for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, just like what they did with village tourism. You just keep bluffing, 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 and now you're dangling it over the finish line of an election. Then you have to wonder. Now, folks, let's think about this. With COVID, we have not I mean, the EU has taken the lead in terms of COVID passports. We still have issues over the vaccine, of herd immunity, of people being curious about traveling and the blood pressure and blood clotting on long flights. You have the fact that the cruise ships are considered to be petri dishes or incubators for COVID. The first cruise line that came out already got 2 people that tested positive. Stop, start. All of these convulsions, all of these teething problems in the new COVID and post and COVID era, hopefully, we cannot necessarily bear the brunt of those things. But you see, it's all about the politics and the spin. Because if it doesn't benefit the average man, then what's the point?
As St. Lucia gets ready for the reopening of the cruise ship season, NBC Prime has learned that at least one line may have cancelled its calls to St. Lucia for now. Senior correspondent Miguel Favre has the details in this report.
In late May, St. Lucia's health and tourism officials announced that the island was gearing up to welcome the first international cruise since the pandemic. The Royal Caribbean Cruise Line signaled their return, naming St. Lucia as a port of call on a mid-July itinerary. NBC Prime obtained, however, a copy of St. Lucia's 2021 to 2022 cruise itinerary for the period June 2021 to the end of September 2022. According to the document and reported by NBC Prime 2 weeks ago, the first cruise vessel scheduled was the Celebrity Millennium on Wednesday, June 16th. Sources close told Prime, however, up until Monday, June 14th, there was uncertainty over Millennium's arrival. In fact, this supplementary itinerary shows, according to information received, that all the vessels scheduled stopped June 16th and 21st, July 14th and 28th, August 11th and 25th have been cancelled as well. The rationale for the cancellation has not been determined as yet, although NBC Prime has learned that a high-level stakeholder meeting took place Friday, June 11th. Norwegian cruise lines have also cancelled their cruise calls, scheduled for July and August, not only to St. Lucia, but other ports of call as well. We spoke with the local agent who disclosed that this decision was made by Norwegian following numerous considerations. Chief among them, challenges in mobilizing their over 1,000 employees to get them vaccinated, coupled with the dynamism of the COVID fight and the ever-changing protocols. St. Lucian tourism officials have stated that tour operations coming out of the cruise vessels will be conducted within a green corridor, whereby cruise passengers are allowed to visit COVID-certified sites. There has been anxiety, however, among those most dependent on the cruise sector. Tenants at both La Place Carenage and Point Seraphin only 2 weeks ago lamented that they are being kept in the dark about their place in the grand scheme of things. After a year with little to no income as a result of the COVID lockdowns and cancellation of last year's cruise season, they were concerned about whether they would be included in that so-called green corridor. This was the island's chief medical officer, May 19th.
In relation to Point Seraphin, as far as the discussion has been, is that Point Seraphin being the ship's berth there, that they would be a part of the sites and attraction. The difference would be is that on the days when the cruise ships come in, locals would not be allowed to access the shops on that day. So this is a discussion that is happening, and the Ministry of Tourism is liaising with the various sectors to ensure that all of the necessary protocols are put in place.
The vendors at the Castries Vendors Arcade, led by Craft and Dry Good Vendors Association President Peter Ras Ipa Isaac, are concerned as well that they may not benefit from cruise passenger traffic, their primary source of income. NBC Prime understands that this will be dependent on the vendors' vaccination status.
You realize that literally St. Lucia for the last 8 months plus has really and truly been not only operating a lopsided economy geared toward tourism, but not really toward tourism, primarily towards the accommodation sector, primarily towards the larger hoteliers who leave 15 cents in St. Lucia for every dollar they extract 85 cents out of the country. So the whole of St. Lucia has been made to sacrifice, including people who are linked to the tourism sector, because many tours have not been allowed to go out. You just heard an announcement that they're now starting to let vehicle rentals for tourists and visitors start again. But in that time, high-ranking UWPs and also some lower-level hacks, their vehicles were going out. All this time, their vehicles were being rented. Oh, yes. But my point is, what is the point of the sacrifice? If it is just, are we just beholden to feeding the FFF in just ad infinitum, just for however long it takes until we are starved and more grateful just so that we can get any kind of piece of the pie?
In July 2021, St. Lucia will welcome its first international cruise ship since the pandemic. The tourism sector was one of the hardest hit during the peak of the pandemic, and with it came the collapse of many other subsectors which relied on tourism to thrive. The president of the Dry Goods Vendors Association, Peter Ras-Iper Isaac, says the reintroduction of the cruise sector is more than welcome news for vendors in the craft market and the Castries Arcade. However, there are many concerns that have not been addressed by the relevant authorities.
And that would be something that is very good for St. Lucia and also for people who depend, who are very dependent on this particular sector. But what is really, puzzling to me is that nothing has really been done in terms of the preparation for the markets, the vendors, arcade, the craft market, and so on. And I'm just asking myself, why, we have a ship, maybe by the 16th of this month, we have our first ship berthing in our harbor, and we haven't had no kind of preparation, to certify these markets so as to, welcome cruise visitors. Are we out of the loop? We're hearing that other areas have been well organized, well prepared, and have been certified.
He says there have been meetings with the CCC, the Ministry of Tourism, Health, and the Command Center. However, to date, there has been no response as to what protocol or what will be put in place to ensure the smooth reintroduction of tourists into the berthing ports.
We had made it abundantly clear that we are not in the position in any way to establish any kind of protocol. In the initial stage, we would expect that the Authority City Council or the Command Center or the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Health would come and in the initial stage set something up with us or for us. And then afterwards, maybe it would be some responsibility will be left upon us after people have made some money. Because as you know, it's a whole year and more. It's about 15 months we haven't done or we haven't driven a stroke. No money is not coming in our way.
Isaac says as the time draws nearer, members of the association are extremely anxious as to what the reopening of the sector will hold.
We really want to know where we are. We had a discussion with the Ministry of Tourism last week about some things, but they're saying to us they are not the ones who are responsible to doing all the certification and the establishment of all the protocols. It is really the Ministry of Health. By that time, boats are already coming in. And the vendors arcade, the craft market, and the other areas are not certified as COVID certified, so people could come in there. And they're already saying that if you're not certified, they will not encourage tourists to come there. Okay. The other thing is they're saying that that while tourists are in the vendors arcade or in any of these markets, including Point Seraphine, local people will not be allowed to visit, and all these kind of things we are hearing. So we are lost in terms of this whole thing.
He says vendors wait with bated breath to hear what measures will be put in place for the reopening of the craft market and the arcade.
And you see, it's an elitist style of governance that has us in this situation. Other islands, what they did, they opened up the local economy. They let everything balance itself, gave stimulus. They help people so that they could drive consumption and get everybody, because you have a disease that doesn't discriminate. So from a policy standpoint, you shouldn't discriminate. Here, we're doing the exact opposite. We want to bring in people that we import in the disease. We want to give them ease of access and make them comfortable because, that servile mentality that Fede and Shasta and all of them have. Bend over backwards for tourists. Don't give them second testing. Now we say, no, they have to be fully vaccinated. Woo! But we don't even know about the other variants. In other words, so many things are still in flux and at play. But somehow, this government, when it comes to the people on the ground, the average St. Lucian, it's always an afterthought. You need more proof? Okay.
The St. Lucia Tourism Authority and the Minister of Tourism continue to boast the revival of the island's tourism industry following the blow dealt by the pandemic. According to statistics from the SLTA, 81% of the U.S. market is back, and hotel owners are projecting high occupancy. There are 2 flights from British Airways on a weekly basis, and Canadian visitors are expected to return in September. But what of cruise ships? The vessels were expected to return to the island in early June, but to date, there have been none.
Discussions are still ongoing. As we speak, there's a meeting today. We're very close to signing an MOU with one of the major cruise brands you may know. And what we want to do is to make sure that we do this very safely. We have a mutual understanding between ourselves and the cruise line so that we can do this in a step-by-step approach to make sure that we can do this right instead of trying to do this fast. Because what is a number one priority is the safety of the people of St. Lucia. And I think as well the cruise lines are of that view as well.
So when exactly will the ships return? We understand that is still being negotiated.
We are making sure that we do this properly. And when we would have agreed with the cruise lines on a set of protocols that would make it mutually beneficial for both our population, our tourism workers, and everyone to come to St. Lucia, we would have done that. But I can tell you with a lot of confidence that very soon we'll be making an announcement, I would say in the coming days.
The delay associated with the return of the cruise lines has provided the Castries Constituency Council and the Ministry of Health with a chance to certify the Vendors Arcade, a task which remains incomplete. So why hasn't that been accomplished?
What we want to make sure is that this is done safely, and that while we want to ensure that a lot of our vendors are participating in the economic benefits from the return of the cruise industry, we certainly don't want to expose anyone to danger, and we have to ensure that we are ready to do this. There's a lot to consider: vaccinated versus non-vaccinated passengers. The fact that not a significant amount of people below the ages of 18 are vaccinated, for example. How do you treat those? There are a lot of questions that we need to answer very specifically to make sure that we can feel comfortable to do this. But I'm very confident, I continue saying to you, that we are going to reach an agreement with the cruise lines very soon on a set of protocols that are mutually beneficial.
The absence of cruise tourism continues to affect several small business owners, as well as international franchises located in properties owned by Slasper and Invest St. Lucia along the port.
You know, I have to say that Fede is genuine. I must give Jack his jacket. Fede is genuine. I think Fede is one of the most genuinely fake people I have ever seen. You know, there is such a practiced, refined inauthenticity. He just waffles through and says whatever. That is his number one asset, that he basically can just bullshit his way through. You know it's shit, but you just have to leave it there. Just have to leave him there. Do you get any sense of true caring or whatever? Just say whatever drivel will get you through. And you know I'm talking shit. You know that I don't give a shit. I'm just trying to get in and out of answering this question. I'm obfuscating, I'm conflating. You know, there you go, no problem. And that's what he does all the time. It's almost pointless asking me any question. It's ridiculous, but nonetheless, the new normal. But to demonstrate the difference, just so that you can see, used to be that politicians at least made an attempt to sort of pretend that they cared or demonstrate that they cared about their people. But this government there now, it's all in the PR, it's all in the memes, it's all in that, but the actuality is not there. So I want you to think about the psychological distress. You care about cruise ships? What's the number one thing that how St. Lucia benefits from cruise ships, besides the people coming off and buying, which is what you have not managed to figure out with regard to the Vendors Arcade? What's the number one thing? It is the workers, the St. Lucian workers that manage to go out on the cruise ships can send money back home and improve their quality of life. Why haven't you all made a concerted effort to mobilize all of those who are displaced from the cruise ship sector, help them so they can subsidize them getting COVID vaccinated? or whatever standard needs to be met. Help them process their paperwork. Help them if they have to travel to other islands like Trinidad or Antigua, and help those people get on their feet again, because many of them have been displaced for almost a year now. You have sectors like the entertainment sector. Y'all are not doing anything for them. You have so many tours that cannot operate up to now. All adventure tours and the buggies, all these people that could not operate. So let's look at Barbados. June 30th, Barbados is saying that it's going to end in terms of the restrictions. They're going to be easing restrictions. As of June 30th, lifting of curfew altogether to no kadooment, but some entertainment activities. Parties permitted, no more than 150 people per location, with fully vaccinated participants or negative PCR tests taken within 48 hours of the event. 3, government support, and this is the part that interests me the most, is from here on down, government support for the entertainment sector. Band leaders, $10,000. For adult bands, $7,500. For junior, $5,000 Barbadian for tents, plus support for live streaming. $5,000 for party promoters, plus support for venues. Number 4, from June 30th, institute a bubble for travel from low-risk countries for fully vaccinated travelers bringing negative PCR tests. Countries included Dominica, Anguilla, Montserrat, Grenada, British Virgin Islands, Bermuda, Antigua and Barbuda, Cayman Islands, and Turks and Caicos. Number 5, pleasure cruises can operate, not just Shasney Fada alone, right? Pleasure cruises can operate only if they stay within the harbor and comply with the same protocols as land-based venues. Sporting events will continue without in-person spectators. Teaching to drive can resume. VAT on gas will be capped. And 3 months of support to poultry producers to keep the price of chicken and eggs down. Now, the specificities of what obtains in terms, look, Barbados has had things that they've done better than us, worse than us. They've had to do another shutdown. All of those things I understand. But at least you see people, average person, poultry farmers. You're hearing about band leaders. You're hearing about DJs, promoters, musicians. You're hearing about people, average people, and they're actually being spoken about. Here, the only time Shasney shits on artists is when he's trying to vegle young people into believing that he cares about them by going and pump money in playlist 1 and playlist 2. That's it. Creative sector, hold your ass and vote for me any which way, because I was posting on Instagram how I eat in sauce now. I eat in the bones. I mean, let's think about this, St. Lucia. What happens to all these people? Speak to some of the artists. Speak to them. Speak to the DJs. Speak to the promoters. What are they doing to survive? How many of them cannot pay this, cannot pay that? The depression that comes with that, the frustration. Just like we spoke about those who cannot get the bursary for the disabled, for the differently able children, the autistic children. They cannot send them to Donata. They cannot go to work many days and their boss wants to fire them, but they cannot go to work because they have nobody to take care of their children, because they cannot pay anybody to take care of their children. And you know what we call this? We call this no big deal. Because all UWP hacks care about, they'll come online and this, that, and the other. Trisha is this, Christopher is that. And you have a 20-foot container offloaded in Chuya right now with UWP caps and shoes and all kind of things. Flabo. And that's all you care. So give me more bad governance. Give me shit governance. Give me the worst governance you have, as long as it's in the right color. And you wonder why the young people looking at us like we just a set of idiots because we're not progressing beyond these things. This is the revolution. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Entertainment Nation on steroids. UTV and Hits FM, sinking the eyes and the ears of tomorrow today. Not only can you see it, you can feel it. Airing on channel 124 or tune into radio 92.1 FM is Trisha Lionel in the morning at 11 and the ever controversial Revolution with Christopher Hunt. That's right, we don't do it normal. Stay locked in with UTV and Hits FM, channel 124 and 92.1 FM. UTV, TV for you.
We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated.
Nou ka mene vaksin lan kont COVID-19 an komi nou. Si ou pon vaksin lan, ou pe pa atwape kor ou tan malade ke si ou pa pon. Ek jis sa bese asou ka COVID-19. Pon vaksin lan pou la vi set lisi viye normal anko. Visite page Facebook pou Bureau Edukasyon Santé ek Ministre pou Santé pou sav ki jou vaksin lan kan komi nou. An nou ede mene set lisi normal anko. Pon vaksin lan, ale vaksine.
Vaccinated.
Commission sa la sorti hot Bureau Éducation Santé ek Ministre pour Santé.
Get up and go. Oh, oh, oh. I think I'm going crazy. Just thinking of you, babe. I need to be your lady, 'cause it's driving me insane. I think I'm going crazy. Thinking of you, babe. I need to be your lady, 'cause it's driving me insane. I wanna wake up to
You're watching UTV, TV for you.
Thank you for staying with The Revolution. Those of you locked in on UTV, on Instagram, on Twitch, on Flow, channel 124, of course on Facebook, on TikTok, and on YouTube. Thank you all. To our radio station partners, I know some of you did message you having trouble with the reception, but I think that has been rectified. Hits Radio always trying to, step up to the plate and deliver. Now, folks, this is very simple. If Cabot can deny beach access to its Canadian people in Canada, then what the hell you think is going to happen to us?
They gave them land worth millions. Inverness should have an equity stake in that golf course. They should have a piece of it, and they didn't. And as far as that beach path that was promised, it's in a contract. You can look it up. I have a copy of it. And a secret deal was made. I don't know all the details, but a secret deal was made, and for 6 years the secret deal was kept a secret from the people of Inverness. When construction started, that's when people found out that there wasn't going to be a beach path. There used to be a road down there for 100 years. People went down that road to access that beach, and the agreement was with the Department of Highway that they would give up that road in exchange for a path in that general vicinity to put that in. And 6 years they kept it a secret. They never told anybody. And when it came out, there was a big uproar. And Jim Mustard, who was the counselor, instead of standing up for the people of Inverness, he tried to muddy the waters and did not stand up for the people of Inverness. He let, Cabot and the council, they all rubber stamped it. So, on the surface, everything looks rosy, but underneath, there's a lot of people in Inverness that are not happy with the way they've been treated by Cabot.
Why didn't the government ensure that we had an equity stake in Cabot? Why don't we have any piece of that for all what we have given up? We gave them our money, our assets, so that they could go and buy our assets, and are now destroying our assets. Emma Hippolyte was the first to point that out. And in the meantime, we have lost access. The police don't have access. We're talking about, Shasney, get them to lift certain provisions of the Leahy law. But right now, the police cannot even go on Cabot lands if they are burning somebody's body, if they are smuggling drugs, if they are bringing in people from the back door. Nothing for that. We're taking our Mumu tablets. But that's why those of us who chose to stand up continue to stand up. Because even this Canadian gentleman who has tried to hold them accountable in Canada is encouraging us to fight.
Do you have any messages? Any messages in terms of what you think the St. Lucian population, how we should be tackling this issue at this point?
Well,
the development of Cabot.
Yeah, my message to the St. Lucian people is very simple. Pay attention. Stand up for your rights and speak up by all means. The politicians are supposed to serve you. not the other way around. You're the ones that put them in office. So if you see, a company taking advantage, speak up. And don't let them get away with it.
If they take everything natural we have, what will remain?
So I want you to think about this. The mighty Gabby who wrote that song was so inspired by what he saw coming through the regional news that he wrote a poem that both Janika Simon and Trisha Lionel got him to read out, and was prepared and is still prepared to make a song about Shasni, one of the greatest songs ever made in the Caribbean, one of the greatest artists. His mother, which we did not even know, was a St. Lucian. And yet, we have him be moved to put pen to paper to write a poem/song about Shasni. If he can recognize it, why can't you? If he can see the danger, why can't you? And then you look at Spider Montoot, Leonard Spider Montoot. This is the biggest project in his constituency. 5 to 6 beaches gone thanks to him and the cabinet. Here you have over 300 plus acres, up to 360 acres of land. Here you have Queen's Chain being leased for 75 years. And let's get into the details. First, I want to show you the definition of the word curtail. Let's put that up. Curtail. So that's Oxford. Curtail. Reduce in extent or quantity. Impose a restriction on. The example, civil liberties were further curtailed. Right? The archaic definition, to deprive someone of something. So that is the meaning of curtail. To reduce in extent or quantity. To impose a restriction on. For example, the civil liberties were further curtailed. Now come back to me for a second. Now we are going back into the Ministry of Planning, the technocrats' memo that they sent to Cabinet, of which Spider Montoot, for the largest, most populous constituency, it's not the largest geographically, that would be Choiseul Saltibus, but for the population of about 30,000 people, knowing full well that the Kappa State Golf Course employs between 15 and 18 people. But yet Spider and them will give up this land, give the money, tell them take the NIC money, buy land at $1.50 a square foot, and are now selling it at almost $250 a square foot. In the middle of COVID, have raised 150 million US, 50 million US, sorry. They've raised 50 million US, while St. Lucians have been catching their royal ass. And nothing for us because we don't have an equity stake. But it gets worse. Let's go to the part of the planning memo I want to read for you today. It's about 8 to 10 pages, a bit more, right? And I want to go right down to the bottom of this page. And I want to read for you what the comments were. The Department of Physical, 3.7, the Department of Physical Planning draws to the attention of the Cabinet Ministers that the applicants, that being Cabot, have expressed their intention to not only curtail, obstruct, and prevent the registerable vehicular and pedestrian access. Note well, the Department of Physical Planning draws to the attention of the Cabinet of Ministers that the applicants have expressed, that means they put it in writing, the intention to not only curtail, obstruct, and prevent both the registerable vehicular and pedestrian access and the traditional use by thousands of St. Lucians and visitors, the general public, to the Crown properties collectively forming part of properties 1, 2, property 3, property 4, right, to it, and then go to the next page and to the top of the next page. And this is the quote from Cabot, from their submission to Cabinet. Because of the nature of the Cabot development and of the golf course configuration, in particular the existing beach accesses on the development property will be curtailed. So Cabot is telling you that they want to restrict, they want to stop, they want to curtail. And as a result, Cabot is anxious to recreate a beach access in the area which the public can use. So they kick you off of all the nice ways and the ways you know how to get to your parts of the land. And then when they finish, they're telling you that they're anxious to create, except that they want the government to create it for them by acquiring more crown lands. You don't believe me? All right, here we go.
Azaba Beach, Donkey Beach, and Secret Beach will be enveloped in Cabot's plan to build a world-class golf course, resorts, and private residences on more than 340 acres. The old way of getting to those beaches will change. Cabot CEO Christine Thompson, equipped with visuals of the new beach access points for locals, says the company will incur the expenses to cut new roads and even install new amenities.
This piece of land is because we attempted to try and acquire or get the government to try and acquire some of these lands to relocate Marjorie's restaurant, etc. But these are all privately held. That did not work out. And this piece of land here, which is labeled lot 235, is crown land. So this piece is owned by the government. And the plan is that we would build Cabot at its expense, would build a road, a new road. We brought the MP for the area, the Ministry of Physical Planning down here, and they very much liked the plan. So they're in the process of taking that back to Cabinet for approval. So we, Cabot, would sort of build these facilities. And Marjorie and the sort of road to the beach would be replaced by this access and this plan.
The land earmarked for Cabot's sprawling project has been privately owned for decades. Despite previous attempts to build hotels in that area, the land has largely remained untouched. That was until last December, when Cabot unleashed their bulldozers to prep the land for construction. Public access to Donkey Beach and Secret Beach, although assured by Cabot, will however be impeded by hotels and exclusive condos. The alternative? Supervised escorts for locals.
If you enter through the area where the crown lands are that you're building the facilities, can you from there walk into the property and get to Donkey Beach is what I'm trying to understand.
No, you can't, because the resort sort of is obviously not on Queen's Chain, but the secure resort sort of starts behind that. So that would be walking over people's private property. So no, you can't do that. You can walk all along Kazamba Beach and you can be escorted to Donkey Beach or Secret Beach. But you cannot walk from Kazamba along the coast to Donkey and Secret Beach.
Save for the guided escort, several other hotels on island built on beachfront property have similar public access arrangements.
We need to be escorted? Like what are we, criminals?
Sometimes when you purchase land, I believe, and you are a lawyer and you can tell me, you could advise me. There is what you call appurtenances, right?
Yeah.
Where persons, I guess, would have a right of way over that.
Yeah. Appurtenances and encumbrances.
Is it that this Cabot company is so selfish that after purchasing land for almost next to nothing, that They cannot even say to themselves that they can give us a proper road that will take us to our beaches. Richard,
and they have to escort us.
And they have to escort us, right? Now, I heard an official from Cabot making reference to state lands, and it is being taken to cabinet, and of course the expectation is that cabinet will approve it. They made reference first to land that is privately owned, and they said no, well, this couldn't be purchased. Of course they wouldn't invest their monies in that. That is after they were not even willing to pay a $9 million interest to us. They cut us short, right? After getting our monies and our land.
But they made so much profit they could have afforded to just pay us off one time, eh?
But exactly. I am saying to you, can we say that this is a company that is dealing with us in solutions in good faith?
So did you listen to what this lady said? She said, we went with the MP for the area, and the MP for the area really liked what the plan was. So think about this. If you move Marjorie, no matter where she reestablishes, you've destroyed the history. That's the problem, or what should be valued when it comes to patrimony. You can rebuild your credit rating, but if you knock down a Peter, no matter what you put up, it'll always be a facsimile. It'll never be the real, authentic thing. Once you destroy your history and your patrimony, you can't get it back. All of the history that is within Marjorie's day, you can't lift up the building and put it anywhere. And even if you did, you would still lose the history. But what's even worse is that Spider was pleased, like she said, with this new idea that government once again should use crown lands to create and let Cabot create a beach access point lower down. And for any St. Lucians who have been on that beach, you would know that the lower down on the beach you go, the more the undercurrent gets stronger, and that's where you have more of the drownings. That's why St. Lucians have always gravitated to the upper end of the beach where they could play cricket, the horses could go out into the sea, people could go kite surfing and everything else. So, you think anybody's going to check the statistics of how many children and parents and women or whoever elderly go and drown on that beach lower down after Spiders gotten his cut and retired, and Merry Christmas everyone, build one buffet pigeon for the Jabal, one for the sun, boat rides and everything that's sparking there right now? Yeah. But you know what I like about Spider? In truth, the sobriquet, the nickname really suits him. He is absolutely spineless. He has no effing backbone. So he will actually go on blazing and talking to a youth demographic. Listen to him cry like he have nothing to do with it.
Parliamentary Representative for Grosley, Leonard Montoute, says he is pleased with the level of opportunity being afforded to his constituents thanks to the ongoing Cabot development at Point Hardy. However, speaking on a local radio talk show on Thursday morning, the minister shared his personal sentiment on the development.
I'm not too fond of those kind of mega developments. I think while it has its benefits, I look at the downside of it. I mean, this is an area where I roam, the Casablanca Estate area, Donkey Beach and all of those places. And the natural beauty of that area was something to behold. I mean, the vegetation and everything else. I mean, I even saw what I used to call a cactus farm. I mean, that is where, and through my brother, I learned about different cactuses, and he told me there's barrel cactus, there's this cactus, there's that cactus, and all of that existed there. A lot of that will be lost.
Montoute says he has spoken to the Cabot developers and has appealed to them to try to preserve as much of the natural environment as possible. Montoute also shared his views on restricted access to the beaches adjacent to the property bought by Cabot. Beach access continues to be a contentious issue in St. Lucia, and as recently as March 2021, one hotel attempted to prevent locals from accessing a beach in Soufrière.
The other thing is, in terms of unfettered access to some of the beaches like Donkey Beach and Secret Beach, that is compromised in my view, in the sense that while they cannot prevent you from going there, you see, I know what the letter of the law says, but psychologically, you know, there are some inhibitions because the hotel environment, the
golf club environment is not our typical normal natural environment. And there are certain things that you will feel restricted even if you're not told that you cannot come there and so on. And these are the concerns that I have to say it, and I've said it publicly, I've said it in cabinet, I've said it to the developers and so on. And so I'm hoping that they will have a social conscience, a feel for us, what our traditional history has been, and to respect it and coexist with us and understand that they should not try to create any exclusive enclave with their project.
According to Montoute, it is apparent that these sorts of developments will always have a negative effect on St. Lucia.
That is why I advocate that we should not be embracing beach hotels anymore, because one of our main recreation venues is the beach. We don't have an inexhaustible number of beaches. Many have gone already.
So is the minister willing to protest in the event that the Cabot development infringes on the rights of St. Lucians? Many citizens were outraged at the business arrangement between Cabot and the National Insurance Corporation, but according to the minister, it was simply a sound business arrangement.
The criticisms were unfair in that regard of the NIC were unfair, and I'm working with them, with Cabot, as much as I can. Like I said to you, after the horses have already bolted, to see to the best my ability how we can get them to work with us, to coexist, and so that there will be mutual benefit for all of us. I have to say that right now that I'm looking at a beach park in Casaba, and of course, since Cabot is benefiting a lot from the investment, will be benefiting a lot from the investment in Casaba, I have been able to engage them, and they are prepared to contribute to that beach park.
Montoute states that he proposes that one of the first restaurants established on that beach park should be owned and operated by Marjorie Lambert, seeing as she has been stationed on that beach for eons.
Isn't that pathetic? Isn't that truly pathetic? You telling me y'all will rally to put Spider in cabinet with the largest, most populous constituency, the largest project, and he's talking about after the horses have already bolted, when he's the one that puts St. Lucia and Grozilations on their knees, on their stomachs, and let them get shafted by Cabot, building exactly that, an enclave that excludes us, right? New Canada, Nova Scotia Part 2, and we don't even have beach access, and this man is talking as if he wasn't there, as if he wasn't part of it. And I showed you even the planning memo that was sent to cabinet spoke to how the people put it in their writing that they wanted to curtail beach access. And this spineless jackass is now talking about how he wants to work with them to put an area where the government will have to take its land, it'll tell Cabot, build a little something, give Marjorie some facsimile of where she was, and let people go and drown lower down the beach. Nothing for that. Nothing for that. What is the point of putting Mate in cabinet? If he is being honest there, then what the hell is he doing in cabinet? He's just sitting there taking mumu tablets? Or even if he speaks, nobody respects what he says? Or they know that he will not stand up for his own people? Or he's too busy being involved in kidnapping? And I keep asking the same question. Do you think that anybody else could be involved in kidnapping, even if it were Guy Joseph, and nothing for that? You're just pretending? So you sit in your house in Cap Estate or in Corinth or in Piat, and you'll tell me that if the Labour Party had sent Kenson up and Kenson was involved in a kidnapping, you wouldn't have a problem with it? What the hell? That if Spider can take and even want to override people like Pinkley and put up a beach cabana, whatever, restaurant, illegally outside Pigeon Point for his Jabal, right? Same place he go and renew his vows. They would put it up there and have another one on the other side of the beach for his son, and nothing for that. Well, then we get in the governance that we want. Bad governance, bad electorate. I don't know what else to say. But I want you to think about this. This is Spider sitting down with Franny and Scotty, and you'd swear it was like, some priest wrote that for him to be in confession. But don't forget, Spider has been well equipped to say just how shit he is in cabinet and governance.
Isn't it the norm when those, I will not call Camot an investor, I will not call Ojo Labs an investor, I will not call Chioakin an investor, because all you have done is take it. Yeah, but they are leeches, Spider. Spider, none of those people can use anything. You have taken the resources of the poor people of this country and given to those foreigners.
Come off it. That kind of rhetoric to mislead people of the
Spider,
that's an investment made by Cabot and a business decision made by the NIC. And if the NIC, if their board and everybody else in the NIC feel that it's a justified thing, and when it's explained, in my opinion, it's a justified investment. And I'll tell you.
I'll just move away from what I was asking you in a bit with my signature on those lists.
Yes.
Let me just take Ojo Labs. Spider, you sat in cabinet, agreeing that Ojo Labs will come here. The cabinet conclusion says that you will pay employees of Ojo Labs. You will pay utilities of Ojo Labs. You will give Ojo Labs a building. You will refurbish the building for Ojo Labs. What does the government and people have in Ojo Labs, Spider?
Okay, sometimes we make investment, and if you ask me, when you consider what you get in return for what you give, sometimes I have my questions about it too. But in this case here, what we were looking at is the training of St. Lucians in a certain field that would redound to the long-term benefit of St. Lucians and St. Lucia. That's where it is. So we wanted to encourage that business to come in for that purpose.
Yeah, but Spider, if we have to encourage training, all we do is we put together a training camp in that field. So money is spent directly. Hold on, Spider. Money is spent directly on our people. We cannot give them on a building. Pay $5 million to refurbish the building. Pay his employees, pay his utilities, and tell me we are doing that. And all profits are repatriated to Texas, where the head office is. They just acquired some of the bigger property. I mean, my point is, I have no difficulty with human resource training. I have none. But you do not put money in the pockets of foreigners under the guise of training your people.
If you think you're going to get the just returns for it, I mean, I don't see. And if you think it will redound to your long-term benefit, initially maybe the foreigner will benefit.
My brother, my point is that different
I'm not here to argue the merits or demerits of it. You have your opinion. I mean, Cabinet was minded to go that route. And
well, Cabinet is always minded to give away everything that we have.
Now, that's not true, Richard. When you were there, we were giving away. We were giving leases. We were giving away everything we had.
I don't reach the leases yet. Hold on, man. You think I would be in Cabinet and that Ojo Labs? Spider, you ain't enemy. I'll come to that in a bit. You know I would never support the giving away of our resources as Alan Chapman.
Okay. And remember that when advice is given to Cabinet, the decision is taken by Cabinet. Whether or not they want to take the advice is a different issue. But I want to assure you, I want to inform you that on this occasion, we took the advice of the professionals who made the recommendation not to grant a lease on the beach. We did not grant a lease on the beach. And that is one of the errors, that's one of the erroneous statements I'm here to correct. Because people like you, Richard, are pushing that line that we gave a lease on the beach, and that is not true.
Spider, your theory here blatantly contradicts what is in writing. I do have both of the documents. Hold on, Spider. I have both of the documents. I showed them on TV last Thursday.
What documents?
There are documents, one from the Ministry, Department of Planning, recommending that one, no lease be granted of Secret Beach, and two, hold on, and two, that it be reserved for access by an enjoyment by all St. Lucians. And they said do not grant the lease. Right. And I have the Cabinet conclusion that granted the lease for 75 years. How do you explain such a substantive departure?
A question, can I ask you a question of my own?
Yes.
Does the Cabinet conclusion that you have indicate that there is... No, I mean, mine doesn't have that. So I'm asking you if yours has a granting of the lease on any of the beaches that were mentioned.
I just told you, Spider. I just told you. And I will show it tonight again. I am telling you again, Spider, and I'm telling you without a doubt, without self-contradiction, and I bet my life on what I'm telling you, that the Department of Planning recommended to government that Article 1657 B3, I think it is, known as secret beach, that a list thereon not be granted, that it be reserved for access and enjoyment by all St. Thereafter, there is a conclusion where a list was granted of that very block and parcel number for 75 years.
Okay, let me tell you as someone who sat in cabinet while the decision was taken, what the decision of cabinet was. That we renew the leases that already existed. We granted leases on Queen's Chain, but we did not agree to grant any lease on any of the beaches mentioned. And for that matter, I raised the issue of access, because I'm saying even if the beach is public and you do not have access to the beach, that is an issue. Okay, and I was told that there is pedestrian access according to the plans in planning, that there was a provision for pedestrian access to the beaches. I made a request, and it is a request because you cannot force the owner of the land to give you vehicular access when, according to the plans, it is pedestrian access. I am saying, I'm appealing to Cabot to be a good corporate citizen and grant us vehicular access.
Carbon coming without a cent. We lend them our money to buy land in our country. Now the government has to appeal to carbon. Can you imagine how ironic it sounds? But go ahead.
Again?
I'm saying today carbon came here and made balancing. We took the pensioners' money, we lent it to them, and I still lend it to them. They bought land in our country, and now as a government minister, we have to appeal to them.
Yes.
We have to appeal to them.
Because people like you and your minister of plan, you didn't ensure that we have vehicular access. I
did not ensure we have vehicular access. I would never let carbon come in.
Now realizing that for us to get vehicular access.
Never happened under me.
While what was going on, Richard, you were the minister of planning.
Spider, I abided by the recommendation. Spider, I am not a technocrat, you know. I am not a technocrat.
Neither am I, but when the technocrats tell me what the situation is, as someone who has the interest of the people, I ask for what I think people want. Because let me just say something to you, Richard. When I talk about access, I want to think of unfettered access. Now, access to Donkey Beach, for example, which I know very well, I'm from that area. Access to Donkey Beach is inaccessible to some people, like my grand aunt. If I drop her incapacitated for her to walk from there to Donkey Beach, that is inaccessible to her. That is why I'm making that appeal. And it is not a right, you know. I do have a right. It's not a right I have that it has to be given and so on. I'm making a request that we get vehicular access to Donkey Beach. I want to know I can drive my Samurai onto the beach like I used to before.
Spider, you see what you're saying and what the conclusion is saying. You are bringing an explanation in theory.
Because I do not have the conclusion in front of me, but I assure you, as soon as I leave this program, I am going straight to the cabinet secretary for a copy of that conclusion.
So he has to go back to look for a copy of the conclusion so that he can revisit and revise for the project, which is the biggest, has the most environmental and social impacts in his constituency. But he has to go back and look for a copy of it to see what it says. Now, you telling me this is what you want sitting for you in cabinet? That sounds like somebody that's fighting for you. That sounds like somebody that is standing up and saying, yes, this, that. Does that sound like any kind of rectitude to you or austerity? Do you see any kind of ethos guiding this house slave mentality? The horses are already bolted, this, that, and the other. I mean, the guy is literally telling you that he's a walkover, he's a freaking doormat for Shasney and them. And then afterwards, he cleans up the mess and makes sure that he gets for himself. The bobblists that hide behind Shasney and guys, so while they're doing all what they're doing, these guys do it with a nice demeanor and a smile. He could not have stood up for the people of St. Lucia. I mean, there aren't 50 roads going through that place, there may be 3. But let's show this, folks, so people understand how easily Spider and this cabinet could have stood up for the people of St. Lucia even after they sold us out on this development. You see all these yellow lines there? You see where it says rifle range, you see where it says DOS 133, you see stables, you see all of that? I want to show you the key lower down at the bottom. And you'll see these are, the key on the side is for the roads, right? I know it's a bit blurry, but it is showing you the roads, unsurfaced roads, surface roads, highway, and all the rest of that. And let's go back up to there. All the roads that you see there in yellow, and let's zoom in a little bit on it just so people can get a proper grasp. All of these roads, all of these access points have been there for over 30 years. And by our laws, those qualify as easements, which should have been kept and should be kept so that the public would have access to the beaches. So we're not supposed to be going on golf cart. We put you on a golf cart and you'll be escorted. We're not supposed to be escorted to the beach. We're supposed to have these roads preserved for us so that we could access our beaches in our country. Because if we went to Canada, we would not be able to run roughshod over the people country and the people land how we want. So they're not supposed to be able to do it to us, except that we have a cabinet of bois, spineless jackasses that do whatever Shasta and the FFF say in the hopes that they can get their cut too and play like they're doing something for the public and go and cry on blazing. So we can come up for that, because if you want to see, let's go and look for a golf course in Dubai. Let's go and look for one in Scotland. No, we can look for a golf course right next to the one that's being built by Cabot, and that is the Sandals Cape State Golf Course, which has a number of easement roads that allow people to pass through and get to their homes. There you have it. Loss of 5 beaches, loss of beach access. Cabot now saying they want government to give more land so that we can build a beach access point in the most dangerous part of the beach. Well supported by Spider, but he's lamenting as if he didn't have anything to do with pimping out over 300 acres, no equity stake, no guarantee of local employment, because all the tractor operators or Caucasian males that are down there, they just, for PR purposes, they hire 1-2 fellas to pretend they clean in bush for 2 weeks. That's the kind of stuff. How many people does Sandals Golf Course employ? 15 to 18 people. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Cabot, an enclave, Canadian enclave. We're not 238 square miles. How many square miles has Shasta given up already? Between DSH, between this and all of the other land losses and conspicuous acquisitions, and the Chinese real estate companies that coming in here and buying 80 acres of land, 86 acres of land down in View Fort and everything, and y'all don't even check it, even though it's in the Business Focus magazine. Chamber of Commerce taking Momo tablets, so you wouldn't know nothing about that. But I ask the same question when it comes to Spider. Put Spider in office to do what? You mean to tell me you need to put somebody in office to not stand up to Shasta? You need to put somebody in office or keep somebody in office who is clearly telling you that when push comes to shove, he can be pushed and shoved and walked over no matter of what consequence it is to our patrimony, to our people, his own people, his constituency. What's the point? He could not be there and still be just as ineffective as being there, not paying attention, or paying attention and still have everything happen. He's of no consequence in the cabinet. That's what he's telling you. Horses bolted already, and now he's just trying to salvage a bad situation and as if he's not. But what more do you need to hear? I want you to think about this. That's why I keep telling you, as bad as Shastny is, as bad as Guy is, as bad as some of them are, it is the ones who you believe know better, the ones who have the affable demeanor, like Spider, except when he's cursing out people. You have to ask yourself whether he was cursing out the white guy at Doolittle's because that's what he really needed to do to Shastny, but he doesn't have the balls because Shastny has his balls in a jar of formaldehyde right next to Gale's, right next to Bradley's, right next to Stephenson King's. Because think about this. These are the guys who you think know better. But like I say, who is more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him? Who is more corrupt? The people who are busy being corrupt like Guy and Shastny, or the ones who participate in it, who get the largesse and hide behind good nice little PR of being quiet and everything. Bradley, I'm not a politician, King. Yeah, no problem. And Spider, even though they know better. Like I said, if you're going to work with the massa, then the house slave mentality, you will go and tell people one truth, knowing full well that you accept it and you bow to it when the time comes.
And even Mr. Leonard Spider Montoot himself, it amazes me that he is still very much comfortable sitting in a cabinet and running again with the Prime Minister Alan Shastny. Because, you know, people have very short memories, but I try to remember things. And especially, I thought back to November of 2011, in the run-up to the general election, right? The 2011 election, which is after this whole debacle with the Super 8 and all of that. And they fire Rufus and they fire Osbert and all of that, right? We don't want it, you know? And speaking on the beach, remember it very, very clearly with friends around me. We just happened to go there and we happened to see our dear friend Minerva Ward, who's of course now of UWP hack fame, right there on the beach talking to Spider, and we were there, you know, a bunch of people, you know, casually talking. And you, Mr. Leonard Spider Montoot, admitted and stated that you could not work with Alan Shastny. He's one of the worst things that happened in the politics of St. Lucia, and you even said that he's a racist. You said so, and I dare you to say that you didn't say it. But now, it is so convenient for people to forget about these critical issues of innate, that are so innate in their nature, about the individuals who we're dealing with at the top of this country, that you will cast it all aside, that you will so much say, don't worry, voting for Alan Shastny, you're voting for me. It's not that simple. And it's unfortunate that this is what the nature of politics is, that it is all about the convenience of...
Protocols for international visitors while in St. Lucia. The following protocols are established to guide the stay of all guests while on island in order to mitigate any possible spread of infection. During the first 14 days, visitors are allowed to patronize approved beaches, restaurant, sea and land excursions, and sites and attractions. All visits are scheduled and pre-arranged by their respective accommodation providers. During this period, all visitors will be transported to and from the certified sites using only COVID-19 certified tourism transportation. After the first 14 days, if any visitor wishes to stay on island beyond the 14-day period, they must apply for and receive a health clearance certificate from the Ministry of Health. Visitors will be allowed to travel, be out in the wider public, and patronize local businesses unsupervised once health clearance certificates have been received. During their entire stay, visitors must wear their mask whenever they are in public places and maintain the mandatory 6 feet distancing from others.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated.
The COVID-19 vaccination drive is mobile and coming to you. There you can get the vaccine. It will protect you from developing severe outcomes of COVID-19 and make you less likely to spread the virus to others. It will also help you get your life back. Most of all, you will be doing your part to help St. Lucia bounce back from this pandemic. Visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness and Bureau of Health Education Facebook pages for the mobile vaccine schedule, and let's take our life back.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
You're watching UTV, TV for you.
The guys went into cabinet, hear me, and acquired the very land on which the Dolphin Park was supposed to have been built. So, all along, the idea of the Dolphin Park was thrown out because the intention was to acquire that land. The public figured we want no Dolphin Park. Government relented in that regard, but they treated the land as unfinished business. Gold Sky Investments, company number 2012 C306. Now, I want you all to understand this. At the time of filing those returns, Gold Sky Investment had only one shareholder, and Gold Sky Investment at the time of filing those returns had only one director. Show me who was the director at that time, please. As you see here, the director of the company as of the date of the annual return, Mark D. Maraj. Mark D. Maraj, the sole director of the company Gold Sky Investments. Show them the sole shareholder at the date of the returns. Could you show me that, please? Good. List of persons holding shares in the company as of December 31st, 2020. Scroll up, please, or down, whichever. Good. Sole shareholder, Mark D. Maraj. Mark D. Maraj. So you all are seeing what's going on. You all are seeing what is going on. They cannot say, I see. Yes, it's the same Mark Maraj, the one that sues me for Shastni. Yes, yeah, the same one. And folks, a week after the conclusion, you can take it down, when Cabinet agreed to pay that company $9.4 million for land vested in deceased Chef Harry's name, directors of that company were added, shareholders were added. But I will say this. It is downright unlawful. It is illegal. It lacks any kind of justification, an iota of legal justification for the cabinet of ministers to agree to pay to anyone or to agree to pay to any company compensation for acquired property which is not registered in that individual or in that company's name. Are you all hearing me? It is not lawful. It is downright illegal for the cabinet of ministers to have agreed to compensate a company that was owned solely by Mac Maraj $9.4 million for property which they are compulsorily acquiring for futuristic purposes.
Yep. So you want to get it all in a chronological order? Okay, well, Miguel did a good job of that.
NBC Prime was able to obtain this document, Cabinet Conclusion number 281A of 2021, dated April 19th, 2021. The caption, Compensation for Land Acquisition at Azjabet Cove, Quarter of Ancillary. The conclusion addressed an April 6th memo from the Department of Physical Planning seeking Cabinet's approval for 4 items. Number 1, the vesting of parcels 0037B 95 and 96 to Invest St. Lucia for the purpose of, quote, facilitating touristic and other economic investment opportunities, with Cabinet agreeing that St. Lucian nationals have first priority of investment. The second is for a company, Gold Sky Investments Inc., to be compensated EC 9.4 million as, quote, full and final payment for the acquisition of these 2 parcels of land to, quote, facilitate future touristic development. Before we continue, it must be noted that government under Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony had previously intended to acquire parcels 95 and 96 to facilitate the establishment of a dolphin park at Azjabet, but they were since aborted. The 2 parcels comprise a total of 3.15 hectares. Now, the third clause covers the method of compensation to Gold Sky Investments for those 2 parcels of land. The $9.4 million is to be split as follows. Invest St. Lucia, with whom parcels 95 and 96 are now vested, will pay EC 3 million, while Government of St. Lucia will pay Gold Sky another EC 3 million in cash, and the balance 3.4 million through the issuance of bonds. Now, before we get to the 4th and final clause, let's establish who is the registered landowner of block and parcels 0037B, 95 and 96 located at Azjabet. Attorney and former government minister Richard Frederick on the June 17th episode of his talk show, Can I Help You?
The owner as of today, June 17th, 2021, is Edward Joseph, DC Chef Harry. Yes. This land belongs to and has not been removed from the name of this Chef Harry. And as you can see there are about 4 cautions registered against this land, this first parcel. Can you give me the back of this land register for parcel 95? So in addition, right, look the back of parcel 95. In addition to all those cautions, folks, there are several institutions, NIC, Inland Revenue, First National Bank, Caribbean Banking, all of them have an interest in that land because apparently Chef was owing and he used that land as guarantee. Parcel 96, folks, is the same thing. Edward Joseph, Chef Harry, deceased.
To your screen are NBC Prime's copies of the land register for both parcels of land. They are congruent with Frederick's revelation that block and parcel numbers 0037B, 95 and 96 are indeed registered in the name of Edward Joseph, aka Chef Harry, the deceased proprietor of the Green Parrot Hotel. Now, both parcels of land, according to the land register, have numerous cautions against them, including notes stating that numerous institutions, including the NIC, Inland Revenue, and a number of local banks have interests in the respective properties. Addressed in Clause 4 of the Cabinet conclusion, that these other parties with interest be, quote, dealt with directly by Gold Sky Investments, Inc. and the estate of Joseph Edward, end quote. Now, who is Gold Sky Investments, Inc.? Here once again is Richard Frederick.
As you see here, the director of the company, as of the date of the annual return, Mark D. Maraj. Mark D. Maraj, the sole director of the company Gold Sky Investments.
According to the company registration documents obtained by NBC Prime as well, Mark D. Maraj was the sole shareholder as at December 31st, 2020. Of note on the April conclusion is Attorney General Stephen Julian, who is first cousin to Principal Mark Maraj, recused himself from the cabinet meeting. It must be noted as well that more directors were added 1 week following the April cabinet conclusion. Now, based on the information presented, that is, the land is registered in the name of Edward Joseph, yet cabinet is seeking to compensate the company Gold Sky Investments, Frederick, the attorney, suggests that the parties involved acted ultra-virus.
I will say this. It is downright unlawful. It is illegal. It lacks any kind of justification, an iota of legal justification for the Cabinet of Ministers to agree to pay to anyone or to agree to pay to any company compensation for acquired property which is not registered in that individual or in that company's name.
Is it illegal? Well, following Richard Frederick's claim, our news team phoned a prominent local attorney well versed in land law. The attorney, who spoke with us on condition of anonymity, stated the following, quote, Cabinet has no right to involve itself in the payment of claims to priority interests or creditors regarding the sale of private lands. That lies between the landowner and the creditors, end quote. Further to this, quote, it is indeed illegal for the Cabinet to compensate a company for the acquisition of land to which the company or individual is not the registered owner, end quote. Therefore, with this information in mind, NBC Prime asks the following questions. Is there a last will and testament in the name of deceased Joseph Edward, aka Chef Harry? If so, has it been probated? Who are the rightful heirs to block and parcel numbers 95 and 96? Is there a court order or court orders regarding the settlement of monies owed to creditors or other parties with interest? If so, was Gold Sky Investments, Inc., owned by Mark Maraj, appointed receiver? And if not, how does Gold Star fit into the equation?
Is it illegal what Cabinet did? Yes. Is Mark Maraj the Prime Minister's personal lawyer? Yes. Are we in a country where we cannot afford bed sheets for the OKEU? We cannot get metformin, diabetes medication. In terms of procurement, we have problems. We have problems with heart medication. We have problems paying the bursaries for the disabled for the last 3 months. But on the 12th hour and 16th, 15th, 16th day of this government's existence, we are breaking our ass to give $9 million for a future touristic project to pay Mark Maraj's company. Just think about that. Those who will stay there and mindlessly support this government, are you seriously telling me that if you endorse this, do you think it'll get better? Do you think it'll get better? We had to have a fundraiser to buy personal protection equipment for our first responders. A fundraiser. a telethon we had to have on NTN. We asked public servants to take a 50% pay cut. That's what Shasney and them asked. The father, Guy Joseph, all of them said that the public servants were selfish. The savings would have been about $11 million on that 50% pay cut. But right now we're going to pay the Prime Minister's lawyer for land that's registered in Chef Harry's name. $9 million. And is there a will? Well, let me tell you what's going to happen tonight. The Beaufort man has been spending all his time trying to prepare to lay out a misdirected case to try to do the usual. The Labour Party, the Dolphin Park, the Labour Party, the Labour Party. But the good thing about it is, this is a point where facts matter and truth matters. And by Thursday, I'll leave it for Richard to do. You'll get the next death knell when it comes to this issue. But I want us to remember Chef Harry. And I want to put up some photos because to me, I can sincerely say that I had always wished that his Chef Harry Green Parrot would have been acquired by the Ministry of Education, turned into a hotel trade school. I had hoped that somebody like Nina could have come down, my cousin, and helped to design the curriculum for the cuisine courses and all the rest of that. I mean, it's sad what happened to Chef Harry. It's sad how we treat our heroes because successive administrations, first of all, Compton built a public service, and when it comes to having workshops and everything, it's always Bay Gardens and Coco Palm and Harbour Club, and they ignored, successive administrations ignored Chef Harry, who, if you really think about it, Chef Harry was famous before St. Lucians even really understood what fame was, because we only now understand it from a social media standpoint. But just take a look at Chef Harry. Just take a look and see. This man was ahead of his time, from humble beginnings, sleeping under his mother's tray in the market, and what he built, what he achieved, the awards that he won, the attention that he brought to St. Lucia. And you know what the worst part of it is? To see that this man had to be having electricity by a generator by the time that he was done, because all the vultures kept coming after him, wanting his land. Now I understand when you had a staff at Lucilec telling you that he used to come to them in his waning years, talking about how a certain lawyer would only ever come to him when he was in hospital to try to get him to sign documents. Only when he was in hospital. Never once when he was out of hospital did that unscrupulous lawyer, that shameless sick bastard, come to see Chef Harry, except when he was sick in hospital. And that's not only how we treat our late heroes in their worst of times, but that is how we profit off of them. That is how we plunder a country and we plunder a heritage. And you know what? That's why we have a crime problem.
What would you like to see the government do about crime?
Investigate their own selves because of the crime that they're doing, because as we know, white collar crime affects street crime. So you only hear people speaking about street criminals and gunmen, but what the government is doing, all the embezzlement of funds, giving the brothers all of the $2 million contracts and all of these things, that's what's directly affecting street crime. So when we speak of criminals, I think it's high time that some of our high officials in office start going to prison. Some of our police officers who are doing the wrong things go to prison. And that's when we really know that people are serious about solving crime in this country.
And I agree with Rodney Theodore 1000%. We open the lines at 572-7588 and 484-7588. The Nordic countries, Sweden, Denmark, all these places, Finland, they've figured it out. When you jail a couple of high-ranking people in society, all of a sudden the stink of corruption starts to be taken care of. And you know what the truth is? For the Labour Party and the UWP, I'll tell you both, y'all will continue to go around the merry-go-round until one party gets in government and holds whoever within their ranks and on the opposite side accountable. People are made to pay money back. Assets are frozen. We have an Ill-Gotten Gains Act. We have Freedom of Information Acts. And we prosecute somebody. And some people have to sleep at Bordelais for 6 months, a year or two. Then, and only then, will it stop. Because we're not just desecrating our patrimony, we are desecrating the memories of our heroes and our country. We're not just a joke, we're an embarrassment. We have a call. Good afternoon, caller.
Yes, Chris, how you doing, sir?
I'm all right. I'm ready to go.
So the thing about it, I'm with these guys are just busy building hotels and stuff. When tourists come to the island, they don't just see high-rise buildings and dolphin park and stuff. They want to see like what makes your country unique.
Exactly.
What makes your people special. Like to me, I'm seeing like some of the buildings that's still standing, that's still good. It can be facelifted and turned into a museum. And those that's beyond repair, you can put like something saying what building it was when it was built.
Just like what you have at Pigeon Island, the ruins, the forts, and so on. You show the history, you preserve the history. If we had a good government when it came to the Cabot lands, we could have had a sustainable ecotourism thing where you could have had campsites. People could have gone there and seen the artifacts, gotten a sense of the history of the religion and everything. But we have a guy and he's in charge of our tourism product that says he wants to turn ancillary into New Orleans, and we have a prime minister that wants to turn St. Lucia into Dubai and put artificial islands and all kind of stuff. So if we don't value our own values, then we put people who do not value us in charge of us, and now look at what's happening.
Yeah, because what I'm saying too, all like these buildings could save you millions of dollars that you can maybe in return give to the people as stimulus. Because obviously, give off a building of facelift, there's a lot of building. You know, I recognize the building. So to me, like that's a way them guys could restore our history, hold our value.
Caller, so what if I told you that these guys have a vested interest in destroying our history? Because the people without a sense of history will just accept when they don't hear about the Negmaos and how they rebelled, how St. Lucia was freed from slavery and then re-enslaved before it got free again. When you don't know these stories and you don't know how your forefathers fought, bled and died, then you feel that it's not within your DNA to do it. So there's always been a vested interest in destroying our history. What you learned about in school, not Columbus, right? I never read Derek Walcott. I learned about Ismith Khan and stick fighting in St. Mary's College. That's what I heard about. I didn't hear about Omeros. That's the point I'm making to you. So right now there, look at, for example, Chasney wants to build artificial islands off of the Kosa View Fort, right? By Ansnoa, all that area there. Dubai literally built the artificial islands to simulate the Caribbean. Yet Chasney wants to build artificial islands to simulate the people that simulating us. Dubai. And we call that, you know what we call that? Vision. Not even ground provision. Vision killer.
Yeah, thank you very much, man.
Thank you, caller.
All right.
I don't know. We have a caller that's been on hold. Good afternoon, caller. Good afternoon, caller. Oh, they hung up? Okay. All right, we'll try to take one or two more calls. Like I said, 484-7588 and 572-7588. And you see for me there right now, like I said, this is so, we've really, every rock bottom is about 1,000 feet high, you know. St. Lucia just keeps sinking, and each time somebody messages, say, oh, we've reached an all-time low. But that's the truth. They're trying to break our spirit. That's why we have to find it before we lose whatever little left that we have is. We're apologizing for ourselves. We're apologizing for our St. Lucianness. We're apologizing for having pride. You want me to tell you something that I miss? I miss when somebody can stop you in town and tell you, hold your Murdoch. You know why I like that? Because St. Lucians always felt that they had the right, and they did, to do that. Now when you hear people house slaves like Peterson and them, the fact of the matter is that is what is spreading over the country. Know your role, shut your mouth. Everybody just play along to see if you can get some scraps from the massa table. Be grateful that you're being treated like shit. That's the problem. We need to remember who we are. We need to remember our inherent greatness, that our forefathers did so much more with so much less, and that we should not be apologizing for being proud people. Good afternoon, caller.
Yeah, Christopher, I'm in a coma. I'm trying to wake up. I have a serious problem.
What's the problem, caller?
Yeah. I am a prehistoric Aborigine Bushman.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I am.
You're from Australia?
Okay.
That's where the Aborigines are from, right? Or just...
Yeah, I'm a prehistoric Aborigine Bushman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am an Ianolan. Now, does your government have any jurisdiction over me? Because you call your land St. Lucia. I have been here before you were here. So tell me, do you have any jurisdiction over me?
No. Shouldn't.
So that means your laws are not binding when it comes to me.
Very true.
Right?
Very true.
So that is a serious problem, you know, Gasa.
It's an opportunity,
I
not a
don't
problem.
understand what's happening in that country of mine, you know, Gasa. I can't justify it. I have a serious, serious problem. You know, I want you to take back your Hiranora. Give me my Ayanola. Take back your Jesus. Give me my Kulumunu. Take back your Gospel Trinity. Give me my Atabara, Ikahu, OPL, my Rahu El, my Trinity. Give me my Legba, my Oshang, Oya, Eleba, Obatala, Olodome, Yemaya. Give me my Shango. I want my Shango. You see all this religious thing and all these problems that have my little island in a problem. And I want Lucians to understand that they have people there. You see, y'all, a lot of y'all not Lucians. Y'all not Lucians. I need y'all to be Ironolans. I need y'all to know your culture and know yourself. Because we have a serious problem. You tell me water is life, yet you selling water. You tell me land. The land I fight so much for. Gasa, Mosa Kawim Jine Usav. I'm a savage Karim that mix with a Jine. So I have all my connection. Now, if you don't have your connection, don't stand up by me. I fought as an Aborigine, I fought as a Bushman. Extinction that not in my vocabulary. Okay? When Tahaka visited St. Lucia in 681 BC, the Pharaoh Tahaka, the last time black people conquer and rule the world, the Pharaoh Tahaka visited St. Lucia in 681 BC. Before Jesus, St. Lucia had a king and government. The St. Lucia government gave the Pharaoh Tahaka his son as an interpreter to take him to South America and Central America. Milowak was his name. The Pharaoh gave the king of St. Lucia one of his most trusted swords, his swords as a gift. Okay? We on the walls of the pyramids in Africa, we there. So we're not little children that born in 1979. All those that born in 1979, tell them make a wrong. Okay? I was there a long time ago. All right? Atabaira Ikahu OPL. God of fire, God of fertility, and God the protector. Go Piton, Piti Piton, Monsu. Them pigs are revered in the entire Western Hemisphere. In the entire Western Hemisphere, you know, Rasta. Them pigs revered. You check it out. Christopher, you were there when I brought the holy herb here for the government to tell me that I can't use the holy herb when they could be making millions of dollars from the herb, healing the nation and keeping the nation satisfied. Tell me, Gasa. So what y'all intend doing with me? I would like to know. Answer me. Give me a little thing. I talking so much. Tell me something.
I'm so proud of what you're saying. I think you're painting pictures in people's minds that need to happen.
I'm painting pictures.
And I'm hoping that people are waking up to what you are trying to say.
Hear that? You speaking Creole. I ain't speaking Creole. A Creole is a bastard. Okay? I speak in patois. Pata-toi. Pata. Pata. Pata is the name of God. Ta-toi are the first people on the earth. So, patois, God of the first people of the earth. Bon Dieu, gars. Qui compte nous sortir? Est-ce que nous allons jouer avec le gage, nous? Nous allons jouer avec tout bagaille, nous, ni? Messieurs. The Mohawks in the north, the Amazons in the south, the Twa in the Congo, all of them knew about us, you know. Okay? All right? Christopher, do you know Hebrew is a corruption of the word Ibu? Ibu is an African word, you know. It's an African place, you know. Okay? The same way everybody Israel, but I live in Urael. I live in Kualibu, which you call Soufre. Okay? And they have enough magic going on there. Enough, Margie. Fellas keeping noise in the road, building the road, all midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'm a musician, I can't keep noise at my home because they go arrest me, I keeping too much noise. So you see this kind of hypocrisy in the country. I can't beat drum. I'm a drummer, I can't keep noise, I can't do nothing. And y'all just have me enslaved like I'm a fowl. 6 o'clock, I have to go and sleep because I live in on an estate. And when you see the estate closed, none of the slaves must go out. Gassa, I'm sick and tired of this. I need y'all and I need the country to do something about what you see that going on. Okay? You ever heard they calling a crowd of people a herd? I thought it was cows they was calling herd, and they have me in a COVID phenomena. You check it out. You ever hear you tested positive for something negative? You ever hear life without livelihood? Huh? You ever hear colonialism have a conscience? The spirit of my ancestors. Gassa, Lord have mercy. Let me pray to the creative intelligence to keep us on the right path. But we're going down the drain. Now, both of these sides, they have no taking away from none of them, because I see both of them do the same thing. I work for government for over 30-something years for nothing, and I see little fellas now working for millions of dollars, and I work for nothing for years and years and years, and I never finish working. Because we need to build, and we need to build from the ground. So make these fellas that come in know that the building is from the ground, because they distress me. I 16-1, and they never changed no law to suit me today to make things proper. That is why all the things going on today. We cannot be accomplices and say that happened already. We have to put a stop. The country is mine. I don't have a passport. I elder already. I don't have a passport. I'm not passing port. I live in right here, and I'm willing to die here. That's my power. I build to serve that land. And all those who going away and for their benefit. But here, build me. Look at my age and I build here. I crying. I can call you. Here, build me. So we don't have to go and look for no people resources. All the resources we have are in our 2 feet. We need to use the resources we have. Why are we looking for things that not for us? Lord, I talk too much. Somebody else need to talk. But I must talk to you personal.
No problem, and I really
Blessed
hope you
be
call
Jah.
again. Thank you.
Blessed be Ra.
Have a blessed day, folks. That was poetic and in poetic justice. I think I'll end here. I don't think anything else need be said. I want to end with a little bit of history for those who don't know. That sadly, what I just played for you in the last segment, what I played for you in the second segment, and some of the first segment is exactly the disease that I spoke about. Too much greed in this country. There are too many people that are money hungry. And sadly, because we are not observing our history, we are doomed to continue to repeat it. Have a blessed day.
Everybody busting their brains to get well, to make money. The kind of things that some would try to do, Lord, is ain't funny. I'm talking about the old profession, to forgeries and deception. Many times you ain't people making bubble, and the law not even punishing them at all. Every time they make a scene, they run away quickly. First place they run to is New York City. I say it's high time this has to stop. Just put their backside in jail and lock it up. Yes, man. Money is the root of all evil. Money is food for the devil. Money could make you act so stupid. Never see come greedy. They will kill for it. Some will steal for it. Sell coke to get it. They will take off their clothes and bend over to get it. They want to rule with it. Control with it. Fight with it. They will take off their clothes and bend over to get it. The money hungry. The money hungry. The money hungry. I say they're hungry, they're hungry, they're hungry for money. Die there. Drug pushers controlling we little island today. If they can pay off the judge, it's not the jury they can pay. They buying out Bastard, Grosile, Marisil, and not Machade. They pulling out their big bulos. 120s alone they have to show. So while they're turning the young into drug addicts, making them feel that them is good trading. If I was a judge guilty or not, I put the backside in jail and lock it up. Yes, man. Money is the root of all evil. Money is food for the devil. Money could make you act so stupidly. Never see, come crazy. They will kill for it. Some will steal for it. Sell coke to get it. They will chop off your wrist and then take things for it. They want to rule with it. Fool with it. Kill with it. They will take off their clothes and bend over to get it. The money hungry. The money hungry. The money hungry. I say they hungry, they hungry, they hungry for money.
The opinions expressed on this TV program by the host, co-host, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of UTV or its affiliates.